Welcome to Inner Peace Arts Unscripted. I'm your host, James Coleman. Where you're attending this presentation, you're open to the truth as it can be known, following in new ideas and actions, making for a better way of life. Today is semi-scripted because I've got some notes, but the notes are, like always, they're just kind of a couple of scribbling and bibbling. Anyway, so today I'm going to talk about installing curiosity. Curiosity is one of those characteristics that is important for driving you to continue to search and to go to the next level, the next step, and not get settled too much in one particular camp. I'm not saying not to settle. I would say that, choose the place of settling where you have, the best defense and people aren't going to come and mess with you, right? That's really a bottom line there for, when to set up camp. So the base idea for curiosity is this, quote, what you see is the result of something else. Okay, again, we have these very, very simple ideas, right, that just blow up into these massive mushrooms, right? What you see is the result of something else, right? It's another version of the that old commercial, and so on and so on and so on and so on. But this is less mathematical and more conceptual, right? So what you see is the result of something else, right? And this is true in both the seeing and in the seen, right? So it's, why am I seeing this, and what is this, and so you see the path, and it comes back to that object. I don't know whether I've talked about that much here, but this object process problem, which really points to like the infinity of everything, and every object is held together by a process, and that process in turn has objects, and it just keeps going, right? And that's the decomposition game that we play. That's what science does, and it's you get to places where you end up with certain kinds of control, and that's what that game does. So something else leads to something else, and it's seemingly endless, right? And so I'm suggesting that we use this to empower curiosity, okay? Because it can drive skill building, it can drive the undoing of negativity, it can drive the lead to the understanding of only positivity, right? Because if you keep breaking down and there's still stuff, right, that would seem to imply that there's stuff at the end, right? If there is an end, it has stuff. And that's the motivation for making this, sticking to this notion of positivity, right? There's always something there. And if you're starting to go into the whole kind of, let's just make it easy, using classical kind of examples, beyond good and evil, right? That which is beyond good and evil still is, right? And if you open the door, wherever you open the door, there is something there. You never open a door and there is nothing there. That's kind of interesting, isn't it? You open the door and there's always something. That seems to lend itself to me more to the idea that, that there is always something. And if there's always something, it's, kind of lends itself naturally to this notion of ultimate something rather than an ultimate nothing, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that what's going on around us is that ultimate, but it does mean that there is this something. So I've talked about how this notion of what you see is the result of something else empowers curiosity and can empower curiosity. There's a more ominous side to it that I want to share, just because I think it's right to bring up some opposing points of view and the problems they create. So the other problem is how does knowing this help, right? In other words, I tell you this, that seeing is the result, what you see is the result of something else. And you go, okay, but I'm the same. I have the same skills, I have the same problems, I don't have, what use is this? And I just told you the use. Well, it's, to install curiosity, and you say today, oh, I don't feel any more curious than I did before your presentation. And I would say, okay, that's fine, you're right. And so I wrote here, knowledge of the philosophical underpinning does not solve the problems at lower scale. So, no, it doesn't. If you need to blow your nose, you want tissues, right? You don't want someone needs to blow their nose, and you come up to them and you say, well, what you see is the result of something else. Like, that's kind of ridiculous, right? So we want to have practical solutions to these practical problems. And my answer to that is, like, I agree. This is why, oftentimes when people start to go kind of on this ultimate claim route, I say it's irrelevant because it doesn't help directly with the problem at hand, right? And can seem rather callous and not cool, right? To come up with an answer like that when, my car broke down, and you tell me, God will help you. Okay, that's great, but my car needs to be fixed, and I think that's a fair response, right? Whether it's true or not is actually irrelevant because I need the help now, right? And some people will get the help to fix their car, and some people won't, And so then you start playing this other game of justification, which I don't want to go into, but I just want to share that, I am aware of this problem, so I'm not presenting these things without awareness of that. But I do say that if you have installed curiosity, it's going to be a basis for skill building, which will get you out of your problem. I'm going to say that again. Curiosity leads to skill building, which will lead to getting you out of your problem. So in that sense, it is an answer. It may not be the answer you want, it may not be the answer that solves your problem immediately, but it is an answer. And it's an answer that's rooted in practicality. It's not just, God told me, or this or that. No, it's like, okay, what you see is the result of something else. You can be curious about that something else. That something else will lead to something else, will lead to something else, which will lead to some kind of control at scale at some point. That's what science does, right? So here you're kind of looking at installing inside of you the scientific perspective that will drive you to build the skills that you need to build, right? And you can see how this is self-reflective. Even in this presentation, there's all sorts of stuff that's going on that's building skills, right, that seemingly have nothing to do with the presentation, and that's a whole other presentation in itself. So that's what I wanted to share. So this is about installing curiosity. What you see is the result of something else. Go for it, explore that something else, and you will eventually gain the skills, that power over material, which will fix your car. This is James Coleman, Inner Peace Arts Unscripted. Check out the blog, innerpeacearts.wordpress.com. Facebook and Twitter, InnerPeaceArts1. Email me at innerpeacearts@protonmail.com. יברכך אדוני וישמרך, יאר אדוני פניו אליך ויחונך, יישא אדוני פניו אליך וישם לך shalom. In distinction, thanks be to stream, in stream, by stream.